movie is set 45,000 years ago, when modern humans recently started inhabiting parts of Europe. This is a time when agriculture was still not discovered, so the only source of food was hunting other animals. Humans formed small groups and traveled far distances in search of shelter, water, and food. Life was very difficult, and only the fittest could survive. Unlike today, where people are getting rich off of non-existent currency and eating food on camera can make you a millionaire. We are then taken deep inside a cave where a group of 6 medieval humans are gathered around a fire. The leader of the group is Adem, a fearless alpha male. He has a brother, Gear, and son, Heron, and the three appear to be very close. The oldest member is a man named Odal, who is always in a bad mood for some reason, maybe because they don't have hot water toothbrushes or sweatpants. Then there's a pregnant lady, Ave, who also happens to be Adem's partner. Lastly, the final member is a young woman named Bea. She recently joined the group when they were traveling through the woods. At first, they treated her well and offered her equal food, but now they simply make her do most of the work. The only one who's nice to her is Gear, perhaps because he has a caveman crush. Currently, the group is going through a very tough period as they haven't eaten anything in days. This has rendered them very weak, especially Ave, who is in the 7th month of her pregnancy. As soon as the sun rises the next morning, they pack their belongings and set out on their journey. Along the way, Adem points out some hills in the distance and says that they're going there. He explains that the hills have lots of caves where they can spend the nights warmly. They also contain many animals and other necessities of life, making the place a literal paradise. Wouldn't go that far personally, but cavemen do like caves. Upon hearing this, the group gets more excited and starts walking with more determination. After a while, Adem and his brother Gear separate from the group to find something to eat. They climb down a steep hill and soon come across a large carcass of a woolly mammoth. However, all the edible parts have been eaten away, leaving only the bones. Broth, maybe? This scares the brothers as they realize that something even bigger than a mammoth is roaming these lands. Upon venturing a bit further, they arrive at a spot where the vast forest is visible. Gear, who is a bit adventurous by nature, suggests that they take the forest path as it would save them a lot of time. He also believes that they can find a lot of animals in there, which they can use for food. However, Adem vehemently refuses the idea, saying the forest is dangerous. He is certain that whatever killed the mammoth is lurking inside there. He declares that they will be going all the way around the forest, even if it takes them a few extra days. That night, the brothers return to the rest of the group empty-handed. They decide not to reveal about the dead mammoth so as not to arouse any panic. Since there are no caves nearby, they light a fire and proceed to spend the night out in the open. Shortly after, the group starts hearing frightening noises in the distance. Adem and Gear immediately assume it's the same hunter animal responsible for the mammoth's death. They grab their weapons and prepare to fight whatever is lurking in the dark. But just when they're distracted, the little boy Heron is snatched away. A devastated Adem tries to go after the assailant, but the others stop him, saying it's too dangerous. They assure him that they'll look for Heron in the morning, when it's much safer. Not safer for Heron, but safer for them, you know. In the next scene, the sun rises and the group sets off to find the little boy. Since Adem is a seasoned hunter, he tracks the footprints of the animal and soon comes across Heron's clothes. He finds a sticky, black liquid in it, but no blood. And I suppose alien goop is better than blood. So this makes him hopeful that his son is still alive. The group continues following the footsteps until they reach the edge of the forest. Realizing that his son has been taken inside, Adem impulsively runs into the forest, with the others following him closely. After some time, they arrive at a place where a large amount of dead animals, bones, and intestines have been piled up. Before they can grab something to eat, they hear an animal screeching nearby. Frightened, the group runs deeper into the forest until they get completely lost. Now that it has gotten very dark, they decide to light a fire and camp here. The old man Odal starts blaming Bea as usual, claiming that their misfortune started the moment she arrived. He suggests that they banish her from the group ASAP. But while the others are deliberating, they are once again startled by the mysterious animal. When the noise starts getting closer, Adem throws his spear in that direction, but it doesn't hit the target, indicating that this animal is very agile. At this tense moment, Adem decides to bravely confront the animal alone. He knows that as the leader he must act now, or his entire group will be in danger. He then grabs another spear and ventures into the dark, hoping to kill the monster. Unfortunately, this turns out to be a grave mistake, as when Adem's back is turned, something attacks him from behind. His desperate screams are heard by the rest of the group, but they are too scared to help him. When the screams finally subside, Gear rushes inside to look for his brother. He manages to find find him and somehow brings him back to the fire. But as soon as the group sees his face, they realize that he's not going to survive. Turns out that whatever attacked him has torn off his face and punctured several organs in his body. "It'll be fine," says Gear. It'll buff right out." Bea then grabs a sharp piece of rock and stabs Adem with it, putting him out of his misery. In the aftermath of this incident, the group is left completely devastated. The trauma of losing her partner, compiled with extreme hunger, causes Ave to collapse to the ground. At this moment, Bea comes up with an unorthodox idea. She suggests that they eat Adem's body. The rest of the members are clearly disgusted, but since they have no other options, they agree. "Shoddy his ass cheeks," says Gear. Bea then cuts strips of flesh from Adem's body, which they cook before consuming. The only one who doesn't go through with the ordeal is Adem's brother, Gear. Until the others go to sleep, that is. Then he's getting them bum cheeks. When the sun rises the next morning, Gear takes charge of the group and promises to lead them outside the forest. However, after hours and hours of walking, they end up arriving at the same spot. Odal then comes up with his own superstitious theory. He believes that the monstrous animal is hunting them down because they have intruded on its land. When the others ask if he has a solution, Odal maniacally says that they should sacrifice one of them. This prompts everyone to stare at Bea, as she is the only outsider in the group. They then grab her from three sides and try to restrain her. During the chaos, Bea kicks Gear, causing him to hit his head on a rock and pass out. But the remaining two still manage to drag her away and hold her against a rock. Odal then begins shouting for the monster, asking it to come out and feast on the girl.
"Come on now, she's fresh."
Minutes later, the same terrifying screeches are heard in the distance. Odal becomes so scared that he freezes on the spot, allowing Bea the chance to escape. Now, with nowhere to go, Odal and Ave grab their weapons and prepare to face the monster together. But at the last second, he backstabs her by thrusting the knife inside her abdomen. Odal then chants,
"Take her,"
repeatedly, asking the monster to come out. But Ave uses the last of her strength and pushes him, causing him to slip and break his leg. Now, both of them are gravely injured and unable to defend themselves. The scene then cuts to the early hours of the morning where Gear finally regains consciousness. He slowly gets up and searches for his friends, but the thick fog prevents him from seeing much. After a while, he finally spots the old man lying on the ground. Gear proceeds to get to him, but just then, someone pulls him to the ground. It turns out to be Bea, who is trying to monitor this mysterious creature. Shortly after, it finally arrives and stands on top of Odal. This scares the latter so much that he instantly passes away. Meanwhile, Bea has had enough, so she decides to confront the beast. She uses her friends as bait and lures it towards him. Just when the creature approaches Gear, Bea attacks it from behind, knocking it to the ground. She then removes its mask, only to make a startling revelation. The hunter they have all been fearing until now is neither a monster nor a creature. It is actually a Neanderthal woman, a close relative of Homo sapiens. They stare at each other for a while before the crazy woman makes a run for it. The other two chase after her and eventually manage to get out of the forest, but they lose track of the Neanderthal woman, allowing her to get away. In the next scene, Gear and Bea have an argument about what to do next. He suggests that they return back to where they came from and try breeding children. However, Bea wants to go after the Neanderthal. She believes that these humans are much more advanced, and they have already figured out new techniques for hunting and food. Gear thinks it's a risky move, but Bea asserts that they are going to die of hunger anyway, so it's best they die trying. Upon hearing this, Gear is finally convinced, and they start following the Neanderthal woman using her footsteps. After hours of hiking through the steep mountains and dangerous rivers, they arrive at a spot with several caves in it. The two then decide to split up and explore different sections of the place, but as soon as Bea enters one of the caves, she is attacked by a Neanderthal man. He pins her to the ground and begins choking her. Seconds later, Bea loses consciousness, and it appears that she has passed away. But this turns out to be a trick, as the moment the man releases his grip, she stabs his neck with a sharp rock, killing him brutally. That's one way to learn from them, I guess. Following this, Bea ventures deeper inside the cave until she comes across a room lit with fire. To her shock, she also finds Heron, the same boy who was kidnapped earlier. He asks about the whereabouts of his father, but Bea fails to come up with an answer. Just then, the Neanderthal woman arrives in the room holding a weapon. Bea also grabs a log of fire and starts screaming at the top of her lungs to scare her off. Hearing the commotion, Gear instantly rushes to help his friend, but upon reaching the room, he is frozen in shock to see his nephew alive. This allows the crazy woman to clobber him in the head with a blunt object. She then strikes him repeatedly repeatedly until he stops moving. Horrified, Bea sets fire to the dried animal skins in the room and escapes with Heron. They somehow reach the top and crawl out of the narrow crevice. Seconds later, the entire cave is set ablaze, and the Neanderthal woman also tries to force herself out of the crack. But since she's too big, she's unable to do so. She desperately pleads for help in her own native tongue, and Heron tries to help her. However, Bea hasn't forgotten what the woman did to her group, so she grabs a rock and bludgeons her to death. Heron is devastated by what just happened, as the woman had treated him like her own child. But when Bea reveals that she killed his dad, he finally calms down. In the final scene, the two go inside another section of the cave where they find several drawings on the walls, large amounts of food, and other modern equipment. Sweet Jesus, says Heron. Is that an iPhone 15?
Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.